to refer. So it could be a business analyst, or you can talk about in the context of agile. You can say product owner. It still holds good because we're talking about the ownership of the product. Business analyst slash product owner slash product manager slash business consultant. All of these, whatever the typical roles that we have, systems analyst, data analyst, all of those are applicable here in this column. And then if you talk about the project manager, again, the same thing: Scrum Master, project manager, project coordinator, program manager, portfolio manager, all of those you can actually attribute in this one. So if you really look at the core differences between these, they're completely different set of roles here. So in terms of the ownership, the project manager is responsible for the project, the program, or the portfolio. So they're the owners. They're held responsible for that. Or when it comes to BAs, it's not the project. I mean, that's where there is a major shift of thinking that you need to have if you are trying to move into the BA space, especially from the other roles. You should think product thinking, design thinking, systems thinking, people thinking. It's all about the customer centricity. I think that's what we were talking about in the last few sessions. Sarika was talking about it in the last session. Priya was mentioning the same. Customer centricity, product thinking, design thinking. Rennie was mentioning that, and even Uzma was talking about the design thinking. We'll talk about it in the next week about the techniques and tools. And then the domain knowledge. They're focused on the domain knowledge, the business area, specific business area. They're looking at the specific process. So they own the process, they own the product, they can own and that's the reason why they could actually come up with the roadmap, the release plan, the major release. I think you would have heard about Apple's strategy. They just launched the Apple Watch 6.0 yesterday. And that is a September release. And then you have the iPad version being released. And then the next April, they could actually have the operating system, the Watch OS version could be a mini version could be released. So that's called a tick-tock release strategy. So a tick is a small one, a tock is a big one. So minor release and a major release. So April is a small one, September, big bang. So that's Apple's strategy, but you don't have to follow the same for every product. So depending on for example, one of the product companies that I previously worked with, which was into the social media for these big brands like Pepsi, Tesco, and YouTube. So they had this product is actually kind of online collaborative platform, digital platform, and they serve these big customers, and the marketing CMOs, as what we call chief marketing officers, were the main users of this platform. So the kind of release strategy that we used to have was, it's similar to a TikTok, but then there were many ticks, and then there's only one or two talks. So what that means was that we had every major release once every 6 months. So that's pretty much like Apple's, April or September. But then within that, we had many ticks. So we had almost every month we used to roll out some of the new features, smaller features, and then these kind of features could be bugs. It could be bug fixes. You're trying to fix the defects that are identified from the previous version, or it could be new features, new requirements, new things, or it could be the changes in the existing requirements. So all of these are part of the small mini releases of what we call, and then these were done almost every month, consisting of 3 iterations. So almost like a good 4 or 5 weeks. And then we would deliver this mini release. And then over a period of time, it would actually come out like this. And then one big bang release at the end of 6 months. And then we'll go out with a huge roadshow saying that, yes, this is what is the new set of features, functionality, and new security things and all that. So that's the strategy that company had, that company, which is based in Oxford Circus in London. So I worked with them on the division of the creation of this kind of a roadmap, which could be different. I mean, each one of us, each product is different. Each roadmap that you could come up with a product could have a different set of release plans. But it's important we have this kind of a thinking. So as a BA, or even as a product person, right now everything is a product. Previously, when we used to ask in our own IT companies, they say, which project are you working on? So they used to say project. So they say project, I'm working on this project, but it's no more a project. Within a product, you have got multiple projects, and each project has got a beginning and an end, right? You've got a start time and an end time. So that's how you define a project. But then with respect to a product, it goes on and on. An iPhone was, I think first, I'm not quite remembering the date or the year, could be about good 5-6 years or even 8 years back, the first iPhone came in, and still we have got new versions of iPhone coming. And same with every Android phone or iPads or these products, or it could be the things to do with the TVs, with any of the products that we do, web applications, websites. They do a continuous beta, as what perennial beta. So it's, you keep evolving, keep creating beta versions of that, you keep updating and releasing. That's the product thinking. So in effect, if you really want to go into the IT market, and one of the job interview questions could be this as to, what is the product thinking all about? How would you align yourself to the new ways of working? The new ways of working is all about being agile, being able to work alongside the development team and work on continuous set of changes. You can't say that, no, that's done and dusted, I'm not going to work on it anymore. So the ways of working are changing. That's something which we can actually try and focus on in the next few sessions. Again, going back to the focus areas, the project manager focuses on the solution implementation, not the solution, because there's a huge team of people, right from the designers, architects, visual designers, UX people, of course, analysts, and then we also have the developers, testers, QA and QC, all these people, SMEs. All of these would contribute in that space, in the solution implementation space. But then the project manager would oversee all of these and then make sure they own that particular implementation delivery. Whereas the business analyst, I would say, is mainly focused on the problem space, as in what we discussed all these in the last few sessions, the what, the why, when, where, and then also look at the transition from this problem space into the solution space and enable and facilitate the development team to get there. So using all the support that we were talking about. And then in terms of involvement, there is a complete life cycle project. So right from the day the project starts, you might have a project manager who owns a project, who gets new people in depending on what stage it is. For example, initially it will have a lot of designers, architects. Later, when it gets stabilized, you will have the architects and designers moved on. And then you'll have more of developers coming in, testers coming into that stage at that moment to test it and then find defects, fixing. So you have people coming in and going out depending on the life cycle stage of that particular project. Whereas if we talk about the BA, it's pretty much early stages all the way through, as we discussed in the previous slide, pre-sales. Even before the project starts, you could have a BA, because you're talking about the cost benefit analysis, the feasibility analysis, creating proposals, making sure the sales team have got good support with the solution architecture and giving the client every kind of response with their questions. All of these we are involved in all through the various aspects of the development, and finally even through the testing and validation, the BAs would be involved. And then toolkit will have the governance. There is a governance board, the project governance. We'll have senior management oversight. We've got the quality processes, metrics, some of the metrics like effort variance, schedule variance, all of these things, and the defect density, defect review efficiency. All of these would be in the purview of the project manager. Whereas when it comes to the BA, it's the data quality, it's the analytics, it's what is the insights that we gather. It's about the satisfaction survey index that we have once we release the application. It's about the feedback that we're getting, both subjective as well as objective, coming in from the users, from the customers. All of these, the research that we do as BAs, it could be the focus group discussions, it could be the insights that we gather from a phone call, from an email. All of these are different sources for BA. There's no one specific formal procedure. It could be formal as well as informal way. So it's basically let truth and the good come from all sides, as they say. We should be absorbing things, the insights coming in from everywhere and anywhere, from customers, from users, suppliers, stakeholders, internal, external team, anywhere. We should be ready to absorb those and make sure that we prioritize them, we identify, work with the stakeholders, prioritize them with the product owner, and then make sure that it is actually into the release plan and the sprint plan and the iteration plan. So that's where, again, BS play a big role. And then the mode of engagement definitely is, they're mostly full-time, they're completely dedicated to that project in a full way, so they can't come out and come in. Whereas A business analyst could be a full-time BA. I think this is what Uzma was talking about yesterday. There are different roles. It could be a very high-level BA or a senior most lead BA who's only looking at the oversight, or it could be a BA who's very hands-on, very detail oriented, trying to work with the development team, and then making sure even they're hands-on in terms of even writing a few queries on SQL, or creating a wireframes in OmniGraffle or Insight or in Innovation in a way. So all of these different tools they can use potentially to kind of create the wireframes, work more in close contact with the development team. And then some could be full-time, some could be part-time, some could be consulting, just like they're looking at, for example, if you already worked as a BA in an accessibility project, you can actually come in into another project and which requires accessibility testing, for example. So you are like an SME in that, only look at that and then go away. So similarly, you could be an expert in business intelligence. You could be an expert in writing an SQL or queries. So even though you're a BA, that's what we're talking about. Even though you are a BA, you're not supposed to know the detailed implementation level, but still, because of the fact that you've been working in similar projects before, you could carry forward that, you could bring that freshness, you could bring that kind of expertise into the new project. So they would like the BA to play a quick role. That's where quick win solution. And then once it is done, then you can move on to the next one. So that's why I was referring to that, as a BA, it's not always that I'm always dedicated to one project. I typically work across different projects, initiatives, programs, process improvement initiatives in the organization, all of these at one time. So you need to be multitasking as a BA. And then the kind of people that we typically relate to are the senior management. As a PM, they're responsible, they report to the senior managers, the clients, the vendors, team members. They're not reporting to the team members. Basically, they need to oversee the activities of team members. There should be like the water drop on the lotus leaf, as I say. So they cannot be too much involved because they do not know the nitty-gritties. They may not be technical. Even if they're technical, they may not have the time and the resources to actually sit with the development team to go through each and every line of code or the kind of block of code that they're working on, which functionality. But they do get the updates from the team members, what they're working on. Whereas the business analyst, on the other hand, need to be working with each of these in different contexts. Sometimes they also work with the senior managers. I've had the opportunity to interact with the CIOs or the CEOs, CFOs, the very senior management, and understand their requirements, their expectations, their goals and the vision, and then give them updates occasionally, as to what is happening. So they understand that there's somebody else who can actually, who are running with their, who are able to actually take their idea, the vision, and then be able to run alongside with the development team in implementing that and delivering it. So they have got that kind of confidence with the team and BAs and the PM. They don't have to be communicated every day, but at least once in a while, they might need a quick snapshot of the report. In fact, I remember this in a company I was working with in Essex a few years ago. I think that was a good 5 years ago. They did not want any report. They were not bothered, but they want me at the end of every week to discuss with the team on the technology, on the business side, everything, understand what is it that they're doing. And then Friday, exactly at 3 o'clock, give a kind of a recording on my mobile phone, an update on what happened last time, what were the kind of areas that they worked on the last whole week, what they have delivered or what they're going to deploy by Monday. And then from Monday onwards, what are the things that they've lined up? So all of these things, I used to give a kind of a report by recording, an audio recording, and then sending it alongside the PPT, just so that, because they don't have time, they're so busy with the board of directors and everybody. So they just listen to this particular audio recording of mine every Friday and then say, okay, fine. Or do you have any questions? They'll come back. So that's how it used to be. It really depends. There is no one size fits all when it comes to the communication mechanism. But as BAs, we are flexible. We've got that flexibility to suit the demands and the requirements of the occasion. And then the artifacts that the PMs would deliver typically are the project plan. Obviously, they're very important. They work with the Microsoft project tool, as you all know, Excel spreadsheets and things like that. They come up with the resource plan. What are the kind of resources required, soft resources, hard hard resources, assets, people, technology, computers, all these things, servers. And then they work with the review reports and things like that. Whereas as BAs, we work with requirement documents. Previously, it used to be the FRS, the BRS, MRD, all these kind of big, huge chunks of documents with too many pages. But with Agile, it's more about the backlog. It's about the user stories, user story maps, accessibility, and I mean the acceptance criteria, scenarios, given when then situations, all of these, the wireframes, test reports, and so on and so forth. So these are the kind of artifacts that we tend to work with. And that doesn't mean we don't create plans. We do have plans. We've got release plan, which we can work with in conjunction with the product owner or the product manager. And then we, as PMs, they tend to generally speak the language of the management. So they speak resources, which I hate. They say that you should call people. Why don't you just call people? I need two programmers, one tester, and one analyst, or an architect, something like that. Why don't they just say that? They just say, I need 5 resources. Very bad, but that's how it is. So they work with resources, which could mean not just people, but also the machines and the other things. It could be assets, other assets, and servers and things like that. And they speak the language of effort. How much effort are you putting in? How many days have you worked on that? The time, the cost. End of the day, it's all about the cost that they need to report to with respect to the variable cost. Whereas the business analysts, as BAs, we speak the language of the vision, the roadmap. We speak functionality, the features, and the what. Basically, we focus on the what, the scope, what is in scope and what is out of scope. So that is the boundary. And everything that lies inside this box is what is in scope. Everything else is out of scope. There are different applications. We don't need to worry about it, but we need to know, because we need to interface and work and message to those applications. So we do know, we do need to know, and that's where we specify the out of scope. Very important as much as what is in scope. And then the roadmap, users, customers, customer centricity, we talked about it. As a user, I would like to do this so that I get this. So that's a user story. That's the construct of a user story. Very important. And then what do we need to do in order to live by the mantra of a project manager? We're always talking about on budget, in time, with quality, customer satisfaction. These are the kind of mantras that a PM would live by. Whereas for us, it's all about the user experience. It's about customer experience, customer satisfaction. It's about reducing the defects, minimal defects. It's all about change. How can we kind of accept change? How can we react? How can we proactively